recording now.
All right, hi everyone. My name is Zaf Khan from Durban, South Africa, and I've been in the business for about 5 years, but only been active for the last 3 years because it took us some time to get this started. But anyways, my mom and I, Rose and myself, we never gave up, and that's something I had challenged with in my life was something called commitment. And when I look back at the things that I could have done and committed to and didn't, I began to realize that lack of commitment can be failure. And I decided to change my life. And believe it or not, Think and Grow Rich really, really helped me. And finding people like Pete Cohen and Dr. Bob Rakowski really, really helped me build myself. And I go by a saying that, if you surround yourself with 4 losers in life, you're more than likely to be number 5. When I say losers, I mean people who are not really willing to increase their financial state, their health state, or even their life state by basically reading more knowledgeable books. But on the flip side, if you surround yourself with 4 winners in life, you're more than likely to be number 5. So I just wanted to mention, there's a famous poster out there. If you Google Muhammad Ali, you're going to find him. The most looked at picture is him standing over another guy on the boxing ring. So the fight Ali versus Sonny Liston happened in 1964, right? So that was basically, even 20 years after that, I wasn't born. So that basically changed boxing forever, right? So there's a story, there's a lesson to learn here, right? So in that stadium, it was 5,000 seats to be packed out, but only 2,400 attended. So people said this kid has a death wish, right? His career will end before it begins. Sonny Liston is going to destroy Ali. And basically back then when I did research and studied boxing, boxing was only based on promotion and not so much the outcome. So Sonny Liston looked a giant on the poster, and people only go for big guys versus big guys. So when they saw Muhammad Ali versus Sonny Liston, they said, we're not going to go for this match. It's going to be a waste of time. So boxing was based on how you looked, your physique, your speed, your muscle, and if your face looked good enough to sell a poster, that's good. So a young Ali, when he entered the ring against Sonny Liston, he totally destroyed the guy. The guy couldn't predict what was coming next. And after the fight, when the media interviewed Muhammad Ali and said, how did you beat him? Muhammad Ali said, I only let the media and the people see what I want him to see. So basically, he didn't train as hard in front of the media. He trained in silence. And that fight basically opened the doorway for others to achieve the impossible in life. If you Google Ali versus Liston, you'll see it. And here's a picture Dr. Bob just put it up. So the model here is, if you work in silence, people will always judge you, right? So basically, if you work in silence, people will still judge you. So stay focused on your lane in life and don't ever compete with someone else. Compete with being better than you were yesterday. So most importantly, never give up on what you truly begin. At times, it will be difficult. At times, it will be hard. At times, it will be only you who believes in you. So don't give up on you. And with that being said, I would love to introduce the guy who basically helped change my life as well. His name is Dr. Bob Rakowski. And he has worked with legendary boxers. Even if he's speak to Evander Holyfield will have much respect for Muhammad Ali, and so as guys like Mike Tyson and stuff. So Dr. Bob Rakowski is a massive, massive influencer in this business. I believe he's a top income earner in this company itself, and there's no one better to explain what can be done in this company than Dr. Bob Rakowski. So without further ado, Dr. Bob, you can take it over.
Zaf, thank you for the great intro. And, I think nearly everybody who pursues the business wants to learn how to maximize their profits. And I'll tell you right now that it starts out by you becoming qualified, and that would be a different training. But I'm going to suggest that everybody who's serious put in a Star Achiever order the very first day of every single month. Kelly and I have done that for over 7 straight years. We never miss. Before noon, the very first day, we're a Star Achiever. We've also trained so many people to do that. I think last month we had 170 different Star Achievers. This month we're on pace for more than that. But take 170 times 500, and you realize you'll have a team volume day one of $85,000. So you're an emerald and you're making good money. But the way you maximize your profits is by committing to the business. but I like to learn from greatness. And since Zap is from South Africa, I was actually on a safari in South Africa, a camera safari. And I really love the King of the Jungle because there's so much that he can teach us. And we always want to learn from greatness. So Zap had a great story about Ali. I like to read every single day. So I was literally reading about this concept or characteristic of resourcefulness. And I would like to ask you a question is, who do you think wins the most? Someone who has the most resources, maybe millions of dollars, but not so much resourcefulness. Someone who has a good balance of resources, money and time and resourcefulness, ability to do something with it. Or someone who has not much of anything, but a ton of drive and creativeness. Well, what I'll tell you is the data is very, very clear. And that is people who are resourceful win the most. So Oxford Dictionary says this: having the ability to find quick and clever ways to overcome difficulties. So what does someone do that has a lot of resources when they're hit with difficulties? Well, way too often they quit because they're not hungry. And if you have enough resources to keep you happy, and well, then why go the extra mile? But if you're hungry and you're willing to do what it takes, you are definitely going to win. There's a teacher out there named Sadhguru, and I really love what he says. He says, if you're hungry, then you have one problem. If your belly is full, you have 1,000 problems. And I want you to think about that. When's the last time you were really, really hungry? Now, it could be hungry for food, or it could be hungry for something else. But when you're hungry, nothing else matters. So I like Einstein, and I'm going to call this the Stay Hungry 7. I'm a huge fan of sevens, and it just depends on what your background is, but some say that 7 is God's perfect number. So I have Life's Magnificent 7 or Health's Magnificent 7. You've got to eat right, drink right, think right, move right, sleep right, poop right, talk right every day. 7 areas of life: mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, social, financial, and impactful. And by the way, I'm creating an online course for that. And then we've got the Stay Hungry 7. So we want people to dream big. We want them to start strong. We want them to learn to enjoy the pain of stretching. You want to run with the big dogs. Zach said something like that to start. You absolutely never miss a day. We'll talk about Jerry Seinfeld's secret. I'm going to say always reward yourself when you've earned the reward. And then finally, there is the fun of genius. So Johann von Goethe is considered the German Shakespeare. And I know this doesn't look like Goethe. I don't know anything about German, but I know that's how we pronounce his name. But here's what Goethe said. He says, boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. So you want to dream big dreams, dreams that make you want to get out of bed every single day and face the day. So if you don't know who this guy is, you probably want to learn his name, even though he died a few years ago. This is Dexter Yeager. And what is Dexter Yeager's claim to fame? He earned confirmed lifetime $460 million with Amway. $460 million as a network marketer. So he literally earned $1 million a month. That's where they maxed out for 460 straight months. Now, we have people in our organization that were on Dexter Yeager's team. Why? Because Amway's kind of slipped in the last handful of years, and they don't seem to have the competitive advantage they once had. But Dexter Yeager wrote the book, Don't Let Anybody Steal Your Dream. And whenever he would meet this individual, he would say, Chris, tell me about your dream. And if you don't have the dream on your mind all the time, it's not a very big dream. Whatever your dream is, make it your own. Do you want a better life for your family? Do you want to get out of pain? Do you want to travel the world? Do you want time freedom, money freedom? Do you want all the above? Whatever that is, make your dream so vivid that it actually motivates you. Well, what about starting strong? So in the book, Tools for Titans, they talked about all these Titans had a morning routine, every single one of them. And I have my own morning routine. And I literally modified this from Hal Elrod's book, The Miracle Morning. But he used the acronym SAVERS. And I added lifesavers because I like to start my day with L for love. I send love to 3 people. Now, which 3 people do I send it to? Well, Bob Proctor says, send it to people that you're having a challenge with. Well, guess what? I don't have anybody right now that I'm thinking I'm having a challenge with. Hope that doesn't change. But I have people that need love, people that are in a tough circumstance. So that's the first thing I do every day. I send 3 people love. The S is silence, and I like to call it sacred silence. What I have a firm belief of is that all of us are connected to infinite love and infinite intelligence. And if we get silent, that infinite love and infinite intelligence will speak to us. And we need to learn to listen. I promise you, everything that you want to do, the wisdom to do it is there. You just need to listen. Affirmations are not affirmations. Affirmations are, I'm the greatest, I'm the best networker, I'm this, I'm that. Affirmations, my favorite affirmation is, why do I strive to be the greatest networker in the world? Guess what? Networking is one of the highest paid skills out there. And literally networking can be created in 2 steps. Make friends and meet their friends. People do business with people they know, like, and trust. So I want to make friends. I want to get them to know me, like me, and trust me. And I want to meet their friends. And by the way, as an aside, I have had 15 people reach out to me that have joined our team in the last 60 days. Now that's attraction marketing. And we can talk about that a little bit later. Visualization, and stronger than visualization, is a feelingization. So literally get the feeling of yourself winning. Visualize yourself winning, whatever that looks like to you, and really feel it. If you realize there is something called the law of attraction, literally you will attract that which you are. As James Allen said, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. You want to exercise every day. Why? Because you only have one place to live. That's your body, and exercise fine tunes it. You want to read every day. I believe it was Warren Buffett that says, all leaders are readers, but not all readers are leaders. So you want to read in a way that leads you to lead. And then journaling. I write my goals every day. I draw pictures every day that make me happy. But here is the reference from Tools of Titan. They all had morning routines. Tim Ferriss, a great author. Step 3 is going to be enjoy the pain of stretching. So, imagine you have this little kid and he gets a goal and a basketball. And he says, oh my gosh, that would be so fun. And, first thing you realize is that he can put the ball in the goal. Now, you watch a little kid next time you see that, and for how long is that fun? If you can do it with ease without any effort at all, or let's just take another stretch, do you think Michael Jordan would have any issue or any interest at all in dropping a ball in a goal like that? Probably not. But this little kid is going to step back and he's going to try to throw it. And then he's going to step back and he's going to try to throw it. Well, if you make it every time, I promise you that's not fun. But as you start going beyond your comfort zone, going beyond what you can do, you've got to get better to do things you have never done before. And Jordan has a fantastic Nike ad. In his great deep voice, he says, in my career, I've missed more than 9,000 shots. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot, and I missed. I failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed. There is no legitimate stretching without failure. If you're not going beyond what you could previously do, you're not stretching. And then ultimately, Michael became the greatest, certainly basketball player of all time. Ali became the greatest boxer of all time. Dexter Yager became the greatest networker of all time. We literally want you to be the best you of all time. And I promise you, we can all get better. I remember listening to a Robin Sharma audiobook, and I don't know that he said it's first, but he said, the grave is actually the richest place in the world. because that's where most of the unfulfilled dreams are, most of the untapped treasures are. And the question is, are we willing to do what it takes to get that within our life? So very, very frequent quote, the person who fails the most wins the most. And Jordan made that very, very clear. And we'll throw in a little Churchill. We have some UK people, and he was a brilliant orator. Success is not final, failure is not fatal. It's the courage to continue that counts. And by the way, he also said you want to go from setback to setback or failure to failure without loss of enthusiasm. And that's ultimately where we want to go. Zap talked about the law of association. You want to run with the big dogs. So I have been at some pretty elite conferences where the people in the room are in the top 0.1% of people in the room. And literally one of the questions was asked to a billionaire, how do I stay hungry? And his answer was, you keep hanging out with hungry people. If you're the smartest guy in the room, you're in the wrong room. If you're the most talented guy in the room, you're in the wrong room. If you're the richest guy in the room, you're in the wrong room. You actually want to have the least valuable house in the most expensive neighborhood. Why? Because it raises the value of your property. Well, if you're the least valuable person in the room, by association, and I'm not talking about valuable in the eyes of God, we're all infinitely valuable, but I'm talking about to the market or as a networker. So run with the big dogs. Love this quote. You can't change the people around you, but you can change the people that you choose to be around. The law of association is real, and you will typically represent the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. So you want to choose wisely. Jerry Seinfeld's, one of his secrets to success was he committed that he was going to write a joke every day, every day, every day without fail. Now, I don't know how many years he did that without fail, but ultimately I believe he became the richest comedian of all time. By the way, when it comes to public speaking, I've had a couple of trainers and coaches, and here's what they said about public speaking. If you want the money, you got to be funny. Well, comedy pays high. People want to feel good. It said that people pay for 2 things, good feelings and solutions to problems. So work a little bit about bringing some humor into yourself and life. And Richard Bliss Brooks has the analogy of pushing a car up a hill, and that's how network marketing works. But I saw this metaphor the other day, and I think this is more accurate. Pushing a snowball up a hill, because it gets heavier and heavier and heavier and heavier as you go. But at some point, you're over the top. And guess what? When you let it go, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger all by itself. This morning, I woke up with more than 20 new people on my Organo team, or on Kelly and I's Organo team. How did that happen? We started out with 0 people, and we pushed the snowball up the hill, and we pushed it and we pushed it and we pushed it. And suddenly it's taken on a life of its own. Let's all get there if you want to get there, because I promise you, it's a really fun place to be. We want to reward ourselves. So here's what we know. Why do people study hard on a topic that they're not excited to study? Because they believe that there's a reward in getting the good grade. Why do people work hard at something they're not excited to do? Because there's a paycheck or a payday at the end of it. Why would someone get up early and get on a field and run around and kick a ball with no one around? Because there's a trophy or some reward or award that they're looking for. I'm a huge fan of celebrating wins. People love to celebrate. Well, it doesn't have to be a big win. And in fact, I asked this directly of Eric Worre. Can there be too small a victory? And he shook his head and he scratched his goatee and he said, Bob, I don't think so. So I had a struggling team member at that time, and I sent her a text, and I knew she needed the money. And I said, listen, I'm going to bonus you $20 if you can sell 1 sachet of coffee today where you earn a profit. She said, "Are you serious?" I said, "I absolutely am." She said, "I can do that." Well, within a half hour, she texted me back. She says, "I sold my sachet. I sold the black for $1." I said, "Guess what? You just earned another 20." Now my next question is, can you do that again? She goes, "Yeah, I'm sure I can." Well, then after that, can you do it again? And can you do it again? And if you sell enough sachets, someone's going to fall in love with this product. And they're going to feel good enough that they're going to have a personal testimonial that they're going to want to share. And the next thing you know, you have a business. So 2 weeks ago, I did a Zoom for a woman named Susie. And Susie had a great product testimonial. Well, guess what? She was a 3-day VIP and a 10-day platinum, and she's on her way to platinum elite. Why? Because it worked for her. She said, "Wow, I want to tell the world. Dr. Bob, will you partner with me?" "Yeah, I'll partner with you. Let's do a Zoom." She invited everybody she knew, and her business is off and running. Napoleon Bonaparte is considered the best general all time by a factor of 8. And here's what he said: "Men will risk their lives for ribbons." Now, if you're offering an award or reward, do you think people are willing to step out of their comfort zone? I promise you they will. So I'll tell a funny story. I don't know that anybody knows me well enough to know that God gave me a lot of gifts and talents, and I'm very grateful for them, but he didn't give me any musical talent. I can't sing, I can't dance, I can't play a musical instrument. But when I was 12 years old, I went to a church dance, and I thought it looked like it was kind of fun, but I also knew that, or had this self-impression, I couldn't dance. So I had a cousin that looked at me. He says, "Hey, I'll tell you what, I'll give you a quarter for every girl that you dance with." Well, I earned $1.75 that day. And I got to tell you, I had the time of my life. So I was willing to risk embarrassment and whatever for a quarter. People will do things for rewards. Einstein said this. He says, "Everybody's a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it'll spend its whole life thinking it's stupid." So we want to learn to make everything fun. In your zone of genius, and there's a book by Gay Hendricks called The Big Leap. In your zone of genius, time flies. So what do you do where time flies? That is your zone of genius, and I'm going to encourage you to build your network marketing business in your zone of genius. Now, for me, it's adding health information to the public. So every day for the last, 80 days or so, I put out a Zoom every morning, a recorded Zoom on some health updates for a popular health topic. And I won't name the health topic because regulators don't like us even mentioning that when we talk about business in the same sense. But guess what? 15 people reached out to me and said, "Bob, I really like what you're saying and doing. How can I get healthy?" We have a conversation. At least 15 reached out, right? But those are 15 people that are now distribution partners because I'm adding something to the market every single day. Stephen Jobs said this, and by the way, I saw his biography called Jobs, a great story. He says, "Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Stay hungry, stay foolish." Now, here's how I read this: stay hungry and enjoy the process. It can be fun to be foolish. So that wraps up things in terms of slides. And what I'd love to see is, does anybody have any questions about anything at all? If you do, raise your hand, type in the chat. I might look at the chat real quick. And you know what, just for sake of making this palatable on